Have you ever wondered how some people stay calm in complete chaos? How someone could be surrounded by death, betrayal, and fear, and yet look completely unshaken? Imagine a man standing still, breathing slowly, while the world burns around him. That man was Seneca, and what made him powerful wasn't his wealth, his fame, or his words. It was how he dealt with hard times. Seneca was born around 4 BCE in Cordoba, in what is now Spain. He was born into a wealthy Roman family. His father was a well-known orator, a master of speech. His mother was wise, educated, and deeply moral. Seneca had everything a boy could ask for: wealth, education, opportunity. But from the beginning, life didn't go easy on him. He suffered from poor health, chronic asthma, violent coughing fits, pain that would crush a weaker man. His body was weak, fragile, but instead of breaking him, it forged something inside him. He began to look inward, to think deeply, to question everything around him, and he found something: Stoicism. Now, Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about control, mastery, understanding what we can change and what we can't. Seneca didn't just read Stoicism, he lived it. Every illness, every setback, every pain became a lesson, a chance to test his soul, to grow. As a young man, he moved to Rome, the heart of the empire. He studied philosophy, law, and rhetoric. He became known for his powerful speeches, sharp mind, and deep insights. But the higher he climbed, the more dangerous life became. The Roman Empire was not a peaceful place. It was full of plots, jealousy, backstabbing. And Seneca, because of his talent and fame, made enemies. One day, disaster struck. Emperor Claudius, influenced by Seneca's political enemies, accused him of having an affair with a royal woman. Was it true? History isn't sure. But it didn't matter. He was exiled, sent to the island of Corsica, far from the power, far from the comfort, far from Rome. Now think about that. One day, you're respected, powerful, living in the heart of civilization. The next, you're banished to a rocky island, alone, forgotten. Most people would fall into despair, rage, bitterness. But not Seneca. He saw exile as another test, another lesson. He didn't cry over what he lost. He focused on what he could still control: his mind, his time, his words. So he began to write, and what he wrote during exile became some of the most powerful letters in philosophy. He wrote about anger, how dangerous it is, how it controls us if we don't control it. He wrote about grief, how to face loss with dignity. He wrote about fortune, how it lifts and drops us, and why we must never trust it fully. His words from that island would later change lives, shape kings, guide soldiers, and comfort the broken. And after 8 long years, something strange happened. The empire needed him again. Agrippina, the mother of a young boy named Nero, called him back. She wanted Seneca to educate her son, to shape him into a wise and capable emperor. Seneca agreed. He came back to Rome, back into the fire. For a while, it seemed to work. Seneca guided Nero through the first years of his reign. The empire was calm. Reforms were passed. Justice returned. Seneca's wisdom seemed to be working. But power, real power, is a dangerous thing, especially when held by the wrong hands. Nero began to change. Slowly, then quickly. He grew paranoid, violent, cruel. He killed his own mother. He murdered his wife. He began executing senators. Even artists and poets were not safe. Rome trembled under his madness. And Seneca, he was caught in the middle, the teacher of a monster, the advisor to a tyrant. He tried to step away. He asked to retire, to leave public life. But Nero said no. He kept Seneca close, partly out of admiration, partly out of fear. Seneca, meanwhile, continued to live simply. Despite his wealth, he avoided luxury. He didn't host wild parties or build giant villas. He focused on philosophy, on writing, on preparing for whatever came next. And then, one day it came. A conspiracy was uncovered, a plot to assassinate Nero. Seneca was accused of being part of it. There's no evidence that he was. Most historians believe he was innocent. But again, it didn't matter. Nero had made up his mind. Seneca was ordered to take his own life. Now imagine that moment. You're in your home. Your friends are near. Soldiers arrive with a message from the emperor. You must die. What do? Panic. Beg. Run. Seneca did none of that. He turned to his friends and spoke calmly. He embraced his wife. He told her to be brave, to live on, to remember him with love, not grief. She wanted to die with him, but he pleaded with her to live. She tried to end her life anyway. The soldiers stopped her. And then Seneca opened his veins. The bleeding was slow. He remained calm. He dictated words to a scribe, even as life drained from him. He joked gently. He quoted philosophy. He died like a Stoic, like a man who had spent his entire life preparing for this exact moment. Because that's what his life was, a preparation for loss, pain, and death. Not in a sad way, not in a dark way, but in a powerful way. He believed that freedom comes when you fear nothing. And how do you stop fearing death? You make peace with it. Every day, you remember that it will come. And you live not in fear, but with purpose. This is how Seneca dealt with hard times. He trained his mind to stay steady. He practiced poverty so that wealth wouldn't control him. He reflected on death so life would feel more precious. He wrote not just for his time, but for all time. He said, "It is not the man who is too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And how true that is. How many people today are drowning in desires they don't even need? Seneca taught us that peace doesn't come from getting more. It comes from needing less. He said, "We are often more frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Think about your life. How many of your worries ever came true? And how many hours did you lose fearing them? Seneca knew that the mind is a battlefield, that the war isn't outside, it's inside. And if you win there, you win everywhere. His letters, his essays, his dialogues, they're not just dusty scrolls. They are weapons, shields, medicine. For anyone going through something right now, for anyone who feels lost, hurt, angry, anxious, Seneca is speaking to you. He's saying, be still. He's saying, you are stronger than you think. He's saying, control what you can, accept what you can't, and focus on the one thing that is always yours, your character, because everything else can be taken. Your job, your money, your home, even your health. But who you are, how you respond, that's always yours. Seneca knew this. He lived it. He died for it. And now you know it too. So if you're going through a hard time, think of Seneca, not as a hero on a pedestal, but as a fellow traveler, a friend, someone who stood where you stand, and who made it through, not because the world was kind to him, but because he learned how to be kind to himself, to his thoughts, to his fears. And so can you. If this story gave you strength, even a little, subscribe for more. Because sometimes, what we need isn't noise. It's wisdom. And wisdom, real wisdom, never dies.